There comes a moment, a divine moment, when you must stand before the darkness that has tried to break you and speak the words that will shatter its grip forever. Evil narcissists, they slither into lives like shadows, whispering lies, feeding on fear, twisting love into chains. But today, I tell you, their power is an illusion. And when you rise up with courage, when you fix your eyes on the unshakable truth, they will tremble before the strength you never knew you had. You see, darkness cannot stand the light. Manipulation cannot survive the sword of truth. And when you look into the eyes of that tormentor, when you refuse to flinch, refuse to beg, refuse to play their games, something miraculous happens. Their mask cracks, their confidence shakes, because for the first time they see, you are no longer afraid. This is not about revenge. Would it end? This is not about hatred. This is about freedom. The kind of freedom that comes when you realize their words have no power over your soul. When you love without needing their approval. When you walk away, not in defeat, but in glorious victory. So stand tall, speak truth, and watch as the very ones who sought to destroy you shrink back in fear. For when God's light shines through you, no darkness can stand against it. There is a force in this world so powerful, so unbreakable, that when it is unleashed, even the most cunning, the most manipulative, the most venomous souls will stagger backward in fear. That force is truth. Not just any truth, not the half-hearted whispers of those who doubt, not the shaky words of those who fear confrontation, but the bold, blazing, undeniable light of absolute truth, spoken without apology, without hesitation, without a single drop of fear. Evil narcissists build their empires on lies. They twist reality, they gaslight, they distort the past, they rewrite history to make themselves the hero and you the villain. They thrive in confusion, in chaos, in the shadows where no one can quite see what's real anymore. But when you stand before them, when you look them dead in the eye and speak the plain, unfiltered, unshakable truth, something inside them breaks, because their entire existence depends on one thing: your doubt. The moment you stop doubting, the moment you stop questioning yourself, the moment you stand firm on what you know is real, their whole illusion begins to crumble. Think about it. What is a narcissist's greatest weapon? It's not their anger, not their charm, not even their cruelty. It's your silence. It's your willingness to let their lies slide, to pretend you didn't hear, to swallow your words because you're afraid of the fight. But when you refuse to stay silent, when you call out their lies with a voice that does not tremble, they panic because they need you to play along. They need you to question yourself. They need you to wonder, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it really is my fault. But when you strip that away, when you say, no, I know what you did. I know what you said. And I will not pretend otherwise. Their power evaporates like smoke in the wind. Truth is not just words. Truth is action. Truth is refusing to back down when they try to rewrite history. Truth is keeping receipts, holding up the mirror saying, this is what you did. This is what you said. And no amount of screaming, no amount of guilt-tripping, no amount of fake tears will change that. When you do that, when you stand like a rock in the storm, they will rage, they will twist, they will try every trick in the book to make you doubt yourself again. But if you hold on, if you keep speaking, keep standing, keep shining that light, they will break. Because liars cannot survive in the light. Manipulators cannot thrive where truth reigns. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to scream. You don't have to fight dirty. You don't have to stoop to their level. All you have to do is speak the truth. Calmly, firmly, relentlessly. Watch what happens. Watch how their bluster turns to fear. Watch how their confidence cracks. Watch how they scramble to control a narrative that is no longer theirs to control. Because the truth is their kryptonite. The truth is the one thing they cannot spin, cannot escape, cannot gaslight away. So today I tell you, do not fear them. Do not cower before their lies. Stand up, speak up, let the truth roar from your lips like a lion shaking the earth. When you do, you will see it. The flicker of panic in their eyes, the stumble in their step, the sudden realization that you are no longer their prey. You are free. And that, my friend, is a power they will never take from you. There's a weapon so mighty, so devastating to the schemes of the wicked, that it can bring entire armies of manipulation crashing down with a single act. And that weapon is silence. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of absolute power. The kind of quiet that shakes the foundations of evil because it refuses to play their game. When a narcissist rages, when they twist words, when they bait you into a fight they've rigged in their favor, your greatest act of defiance is to say nothing at all. Think about it. What does a narcissist crave more than anything? Your reaction, your anger, your tears, your desperate attempts to defend yourself. They feed off chaos. They thrive in the storm of emotion, because as long as you're screaming, they're winning. But when you refuse to scream, you look them in the eye and answer their fury with perfect stillness, that's when they unravel. Because silence is the one thing they cannot control. Silence is the void where their manipulations echo back at them, hollow and powerless. You see, silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Overtake is the unshakable stance of a warrior who knows the battle is already won. When they hurl insults, when they twist your words, when they try to drag you into their drama, your silence says louder than any shout, "You are not worth my breath." And that is what terrifies. That is what terrifies them. Because to a narcissist, being ignored is worse than being hated. Indifference is their greatest fear. They need you to engage, to fight, to prove they still matter. But when you deny them even that, they have nothing left. I've seen it happen. The moment when a tyrant realizes their words no longer land. The flicker of panic in their eyes when their usual tricks fail. The way their voice cracks when they realize you are no longer listening. It's beautiful. It's powerful. Because silence doesn't just protect you, it exposes them. It strips away their illusions and reveals the truth that without your reaction, they are nothing. A bully with no one left to bully. A performer with no audience. A liar screaming into an empty room. But here's the key. Your silence must be unbreakable. No muttered comebacks, no sarcastic glances, no subtle digs. Total silence. Like a fortress with no gate, no crack, no way in. Because narcissists are experts at poking, prodding, finding the weak spot where they can slip back in. They'll try pity. They'll try rage. They'll even try fake kindness. But if you hold the line, if you let their words hit the wall of your silence and fall dead at your feet, they will break before you do. And oh, the freedom in that. To no longer be hooked by their words. To no longer feel your pulse race when they try to bait you. To stand in the center of their storm, untouched, unmoved, unshaken. That is power. That is victory. That is the moment you realize they were never the strong one. You were all along. So the next time they come at you with their drama, their blame, their endless hunger for your energy, give them nothing. Not your words, not your anger, not even your explanations. Just silence, strong, steady, unyielding. And watch as the very thing they thought would break you becomes the thing that breaks them instead. Imagine standing on a battlefield, but instead of swords and shields, your weapons are two simple words: no more. Oh, more manipulation, no more disrespect. No more bending your soul to fit their warped reality. That's the power of boundaries, not just lines you draw in the sand, but fortresses you build around your spirit brick by brick. Until the poison of narcissism can no longer touch you. A narcissist doesn't fear your anger, they expect it. They don't fear your tears, they feed on them. But what they cannot stand, what sends shockwaves through their carefully crafted world, your refusal to play by their rules. When you say this far and no further, when you stand like an unshakable mountain against their demands, their games, their endless hunger for control, that's when they reveal their true weakness. Because boundaries don't just protect you, they expose the narcissist's greatest flaw, their powerlessness over anyone who refuses to surrender. Think of boundaries as light piercing through darkness. A narcissist thrives in the fog of confusion, where right and wrong blur, where your no gets drowned out by guilt trips and tantrums. But when you shine the light of absolute clarity, I will not tolerate this. I will not engage in this. I will not sacrifice my peace for your drama. The fog lifts. Narcissistic. Suddenly, their tricks look cheap. Their rage looks pathetic. Their attempts to cross the line, they crumble against the strength of your enough. And here's the truth they never want you to know. Boundaries terrify them. Why? Because boundaries mean you see them for what they are. You're no longer fooled by their charm, no longer swayed by their pity plays, no longer trapped in the endless cycle of just one more chance. When you enforce consequences, when you walk away, hang up the phone, or lock the door, you're not being cruel, you're being free. And that freedom is a mirror forcing them to face the one thing they've spent their lives running from. Their actions have consequences, but setting boundaries isn't just about saying no. It's about reclaiming your yes to peace, your yes to self-respect. Oh, your yes to a life where love doesn't come with chains. Every time you uphold a boundary, you're not just shutting out toxicity, you're opening the door to your own strength. You're proving to yourself, deep in your bones, that you matter, that your sanity is non-negotiable. That your heart is not a doormat for their ego. Will they fight it? Oh yes, they'll scream that you're selfish. They'll twist your boundaries into betrayal. They'll test every limit praying you'll cave. But stand firm, because every time you do, you're rewriting the story. No longer the victim. No longer the pawn. Now the unmovable force they can't control. And with every boundary held, their power over you shrinks, until all that's left is the glorious truth. You were never the weak one. They were, so build those walls. Guard your peace. And watch as the very people who claim to be so strong tremble before the power of your no. Because boundaries aren't just protection, they're liberation. And the moment you taste that freedom, there's no going back. Fear is the oxygen that keeps a narcissist alive. It's the fuel for their manipulation, the currency of their control, the very foundation of their power over you. But what happens when you cut off that supply? What happens when you stare into the face of their intimidation and refuse to tremble? That's when the tables turn. That's when you become the unstoppable force, and they become the ones scrambling to regain what they've lost. A narcissist doesn't want your love. They want your fear. They don't crave your respect. They crave your anxiety. You're walking on eggshells. Your desperate need to keep them happy. Because as long as you're afraid of their anger, afraid of their rejection, afraid of their silent treatments, they own you. But the moment you stop fearing them, the moment you look at their tantrums and feel nothing, that's the moment their whole world collapses. Because without fear, they have nothing to work with. No leverage, no power, no hold over your soul. Think about it. What's the worst thing a narcissist can do to you? Yell, criticize, give you the cold shoulder. None of those things can truly hurt you unless you let them. Unless you hand them the keys to your emotions and say, "Here, control me." But when you take those keys back, when you realize their words are just noise, their anger is just theater, their silence is just a pathetic attempt to punish you, something incredible happens. You become untouchable. And that is their greatest nightmare. I've seen it happen the exact second a narcissist realizes they've lost their grip. The way their face changes when their usual threats don't get a reaction. The way their voice falters when they scream and you don't flinch. It's like watching a puppet master realize their strings have been cut. All that's left is a hollow performance, a sad little act with no audience. Because here's the truth. Their power was never real. It was an illusion, a magic trick that only worked because you believed in it. But now you see behind the curtain. And what's there isn't a monster, just a weak, desperate person who needs your fear to feel strong. So how do you kill fear? You starve it. You stop reacting. You stop begging for their approval. You stop letting their moods dictate your worth. You look at their drama and say, that's your problem, not mine. You hear their insults and think, funny, I don't remember asking for your opinion. You watch their silent treatment and enjoy the peace, because fear can't survive in a heart that refuses to bow. Control can't thrive where there's nothing left to control. And here's the most beautiful part. This isn't about fighting them. It's about freeing yourself. It's about waking up one day and realizing you're no longer afraid. That their words roll off you like rain. That their absence feels like a gift. That the person who once held you hostage in your own mind, they don't matter anymore. And when that happens, when you truly stop fearing them, you'll see the most incredible thing. They'll feel it. They'll sense your indifference like a shift in the wind, and they'll either rage harder because they're desperate, or they'll slink away because they're defeated. Either way, you win. So take a deep breath, straighten your spine, and let go of the fear. Because the second you do, their power crumbles to dust, and you'll realize the strength was inside you all along, waiting, unshakable, unbreakable. And now it's your turn to rise. There is a force so powerful, so radically transformative, that it can melt the hardest heart and disarm the cruelest intentions. That force is love, not the weak, passive love that begs for approval, but the fierce, unshakable love that stands firm in the face of hatred and says, you cannot touch me. When you love without conditions, when you refuse to hate, refuse to retaliate, refuse to let their poison infect your soul, you wield a weapon they cannot defeat, because while they thrive on chaos, love brings peace. While they feed on conflict, love disarms. While they try to drag you into the mud, love lifts you so high their arrows can no longer reach you. A narcissist expects anger. They know how to handle revenge. They're prepared for you to fight dirty, to scream, to match their cruelty with your own. But what they cannot handle, what breaks them, is when you respond to their hatred with love. Not the love of a doormat, not the love of someone who tolerates abuse, but the love of someone so secure, so unshakable that their games no longer work. When you love from a place of strength, when you look at their tantrums and pity them instead of fearing them, you expose the truth. They are the weak ones. They are the ones starving for something they can never truly have. Think about it. Why do narcissists try so hard to hurt? Because they are hurting. Why do they need to control you? Because they feel out of control. Why do they crave your fear? Because they live in constant terror of being exposed. When you see them this way, not as monsters, but as wounded, broken people, something shifts. Their words lose their sting, their actions lose their power. You stop seeing them as a threat and start seeing them as pitiful, and that is the beginning of their defeat. Because the moment you stop reacting to their hate with hate, their whole game falls apart. But this isn't about letting them off the hook. This isn't about excusing their behavior or pretending they haven't hurt you. This is about freeing yourself from the cycle of pain. When you choose love, real love, the kind that doesn't depend on their actions, you take back your power. You refuse to let their bitterness become yours. You refuse to let their darkness dim your light. You love not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to live in love. And that kind of love. It's revolutionary. It's unbreakable. It's the kind of love that heals you even as it confounds them. I've seen it happen. The moment a narcissist realizes their cruelty isn't getting to you. The confusion in their eyes when they expect a fight and you respond with kindness. The frustration when they try to guilt trip you and you genuinely don't care. It's like watching someone try to set fire to water. Their hatred can't stick. Their words can't wound. Because you found something they can never take from you. Your peace. And here's the secret. This love isn't for them. It's for you. It's the love that reminds you who you are. The love that says, I am not defined by your opinion of me. The love that whispers, you can't make me hate because hate doesn't live here anymore. When you love like that, when you love from a place of unshakable truth, you become untouchable. Not because you're numb, but because you're whole. And that wholeness, that's what they fear most. Because while they're over there empty and raging, you're over here free, full, and finally alive. So love. Love boldly. Love recklessly. Love without expecting anything in return. Not because they've earned it, but because you have earned the right to live in love, not fear. And watch as the very ones who tried to break you find themselves powerless before the strength of your heart. Because love doesn't just win, it transforms. And you're proof of that. Behind every cruel word, every manipulative game, every towering display of arrogance, there is a secret truth they will never admit. They are terrified. Peel back the layers of their false confidence, and what you'll find isn't a monster, just a wounded, trembling child, screaming for the world to tell them they matter. Narcissists don't act from strength. They act from fear of being exposed, fear of being ordinary, fear of being unloved. And when you see that, when you truly understand the insecurity driving their madness, you hold the key to their undoing. Think about it. Why do they need to put others down? Because inside they feel small. Why do they crave constant admiration? Because inside they feel unworthy. Why do they rage when challenged? Because inside they're terrified of being seen as weak. Their entire persona, the grandiosity, the superiority, the endless need for control, is just a mask, a desperate attempt to hide what they really are, broken. And the moment you see through the act, the moment you realize their power is just a performance, something incredible happens. You stop being afraid of them. I've watched it happen. The exact second a narcissist realizes you see their insecurity, the panic in their eyes when their usual tricks don't impress you, the way their voice shakes when their insults don't land. It's like watching a balloon deflate. All that hot air, all that bluster collapsing into nothing. Because here's the truth they can't stand. You know they're not special. You know they're not invincible. You know that beneath all the noise, they're just a scared little soul begging for someone to tell them they're enough. But here's what's even more powerful. When you don't give them that validation, when you refuse to play along with their fantasy, when you look past their drama and see the truth, their behavior isn't about you. It's about their own emptiness. That realization changes everything. Suddenly, their insults aren't about your worth. They're about their insecurity. The need to control isn't about your weakness. It's about their fear. Their entire existence is one big sad attempt to fill a hole they can't even name. And when you see that, when you truly get it, you stop taking their attacks personally. You stop begging for their approval. You stop letting their chaos become yours. This isn't about pitying them. This isn't about excusing their cruelty. This is about freeing yourself from their illusion of power. When you recognize their insecurity for what it is, when you see the trembling child behind the mask, you take away their greatest weapon, your belief in their strength, because they need you to think they're superior. They need you to feel beneath them. The moment you stop feeding that delusion, the moment you stand tall and say, I see you, and you're not so scary, their whole world starts to crumble. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to do anything to make this happen. You don't have to confront them. You don't have to expose them. All you have to do is see the truth and let that truth settle deep into your bones. Let it remind you, every time they try to intimidate you, that their rage isn't power, it's fear. Their arrogance isn't confidence, it's desperation. Their whole persona is just a house of cards, and the wind of your indifference can blow it all down. So the next time they puff themselves up, remember what's really going on. The next time they try to make you feel small, remember who's actually shaking inside. And the next time they demand your attention, your fear, your submission, give them the one thing they can't handle, your calm, unshakable knowing, because when you see through them, when you really see them, you realize something life-changing. They were never the strong ones. You were. And that's how you win. Not by fighting, not by hating, just by seeing. And in that seeing, finding the freedom they can never touch.